I'm Gatsby.
I wish it could always be like this.
It will be. I wish I could have warned him. It was all about to crash.
What kind of a row are you trying to cause in my house?
I heard he killed a man.
You want too much?
This was a terrible mistake. I just let myself go.
Hello, I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want, and today I'm going to review Baz Luhrmann's adaptation of The Great Gatsby. Before I start this review, let me just say there are probably going to be a lot of spoilers in this review. So if you do intend to see this film, I recommend you do so before watching this review. If you still listen to my thoughts on the film and you still haven't seen it, well, you've been warned. Another thing I should probably make apparent is my thoughts on the novel the film is based on. For those who don't know, I am an avid reader, and in fact I love almost all the books that I have read. With that established, you're most likely expecting me to defend the novel that is claimed to be the great American novel as a timeless, untouchable classic that is being butchered by modern Hollywood. If so, you are completely and absolutely 100% wrong. F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel is dull, pretentious, mind-numbing, lazily written trite that is being given just the tiniest breath of life by this film. That's right, I said it. I slaughtered a sacred cow, I said the Emperor has no clothes, I stepped on hallowed ground, whatever you want to call it, I flipping said it. How much did I hate the novel? Well, let's see, the novel clocks in at less than 150 pages, and it took me almost 5 weeks to get through it. I was able to read Atlas Shrugged, which is over 1,000 pages, in just under 3 weeks. That's how arduous Gatsby was to get through. In terms of comparing the film with the book is like having your car smashed by a train, whereas the movie is like being in a fender bender. The latter may piss you off, but it's not nearly as bad as it could have been. Well, let's start with the thing that I liked most about the film, the visuals. I have to give it to Baz Luhrmann. He really knows how to take the world and turn it into something wondrous and fantastical. I didn't see this movie in 3D, and I'm glad I didn't, because aside from some of the party scenes and the car chases, it would have had little to no purpose. Some have complained that the style in this film takes away from the substance. I disagree on the grounds that the original novel had no substance to begin with, and adding spectacular visuals manages to keep it from being painfully dull. Not to say that I love all the changes Luhrmann made. The modernized soundtrack left me with mixed feelings. At times the modern songs worked, and some of the songs are pretty good on their own, but most of the time they were just distracting. What I wish they would have done was take modern songs but make them sound like songs from the 1920s. Now they did do that with one song, and then once they actually played music from that era, but I wish they had gone all the way with it. One of the few other positive elements in the film is Leo DiCaprio as Gatsby. He manages to sell the boundless optimism that Fitzgerald intended but failed miserably to convey. DiCaprio is charming, funny, a bit reckless, and a delight to see on screen. He even manages to convey the contrived romance in a believable way, even if his pining for Carey Mulligan's character seemed a touch unintentionally creepy at times. As for Carey Mulligan's Daisy, well, Carey Mulligan just does not evoke any emotion in me when she's on screen, especially when she's with Gatsby. Every time this so-called great romantic couple is together, Leo is acting his heart out, but Mulligan just looks so bored. Even when the two are making love, she still has the same blank, inexpressive look on her face. Now, I've heard they were trying to convey that she is in love with Gatsby as an idea and not as a person, but I just don't get it in this film. She doesn't act like she's disappointed in the person that she meets. She acts like she doesn't care about him at all. And spoilers, even after Gatsby dies for a crime that she committed, she just leaves town and does not show one sign of remorse, not the slightest hint of regret in her character. Having said all that, I can't complain about Mulligan's performance, Luhrmann's direction, or even the script, because that's how the character was written in the original novel. Like most everything else in the novel, there's just nothing any writers, actors, or directors could bring to this story to make it work. It's not that the story and characters were lost in the translation from print to film, it's that there's nothing about the story and characters that is worth losing in the translation. But enough about Gatsby and Daisy, let's talk about the main character, Tobey Maguire as Nick Carraway. Yeah, I just said that. Gatsby, the character whose emotional journey makes up the heart and soul of the story, the character whose name is not only the focus of the title, but also all the posters and advertisements for this film, is not actually the protagonist of the film. I'd say that is false advertising, but that would be an insult to false advertising. And again, you can't blame anyone on the film crew because that's the way it is in the book. And worst yet, Carraway is meant to represent the original author, F. Scott Fitzgerald. If I didn't know any better, I'd propose that sidelining the characters who should serve as the focal point of the story in order to put himself in the leading role was self-indulgent to an almost masturbatory degree on Fitzgerald's part. But I digress. Tobey Maguire does a decent job with what he's given, but his character has little to no personality until almost the very end of the movie, which is still more personality than he had in the original book. I like Tobey Maguire, but really, you could have replaced him with anyone in this role and you would have gotten the same results. Joel Edgerton plays Daisy's husband Tom, and again, he does the best with what he is given, but what he's given is the most stereotypical rich asshole you could ever imagine. In one scene, he gives this racist rant about how the whites need to beat down the blacks, and it is literally never brought up again, turning it from a potentially interesting character trait to just pointless and awkward and another flaccid attempt at character development. There is one point where he's allowed to show some emotion other than anger or jealousy, but it's only for a few seconds, and right afterwards he snaps right back into his rich asshole mode again, so really, it was completely pointless. So you'll find there are a lot of pointless things in this movie and the novel. The only other side characters I should probably mention are Elizabeth Debicki as Jordan Baker and Isla Fisher as Myrtle Wilson, the latter of whom, by the way, is criminally underused in this film. And I use the term supporting characters loosely because each of them have probably 10 lines in the entire movie. Now, to give credit where credit is due, the film makes, at the very least, an attempt to give these two something resembling personalities, unlike the novel. Jordan comes off as a sassy but well-meaning woman, whereas Myrtle is an annoying, self-centered little bimbo. And by the way, Isla Fisher, I love her, but she has an incredibly annoying voice in this. But again, like I said before, with all the others, they are let down by the material. Towards the end of the novel, Myrtle is killed in a car accident, and I realized I knew nothing about this woman, so I felt almost nothing when she died. In addition, the woman driving the car is Daisy, who just happened to be driving the car, and Myrtle just happened to rush out at that exact same time, a total coincidence with almost no connection to the plot whatsoever. Laziest climax in history. As emotionally lagging as that was, it was still better executed than Jordan's quote-unquote story arc. Towards the end of the film, Nick tells Jordan off because he's tired of her and doesn't want to see her anymore. Why? I don't know. We are literally given no indication as to why he feels that way. There is almost no build-up to it whatsoever. If you had removed both of these characters from the movie, you wouldn't have lost a thing. On the whole, I can't find much to like in this film, aside from the visuals and DiCaprio's performance. If you want a movie that analyzes the way material wealth and power corrupt people, well, I'd recommend Citizen Kane, which takes many elements from Gatsby and manages to forge them into something engaging and truly insightful. Let's just say there is a reason why Citizen Kane is held in such high regard by virtually everyone, while the various versions of Gatsby are not. And sadly, sometime in the future, they're probably going to remake this movie again, despite the fact that not one of the other versions has worked. When that day comes, and if I'm still reviewing movies, I might review it, but until then, I hope to be shut of all things related to Gatsby. I'm the Universal Critic. I talk about whatever I want, whenever I want. Goodbye.